Today, we are speaking about betrayal, and we are not speaking about a live circumstance that has caused you to feel betrayal, but instead, we're speaking about how our past experiences with betrayal are now affecting our lives. Welcome to the Staying Wild and Well podcast. My name is Rin, and my greatest accomplishment is being alive. Here we talk about life's journey, the ups, the downs, the in-betweens, all things mental health, body, mind, and spirit. We share wild stories and keeping your wild alive while staying well. There are two ways that we could see it typically affect our lives, and that is either being closed off and going within our shell and feeling less than, or piping up into like an attack mode and not having the most success in relationships with people because of the way we approach how we are feeling when that betrayal is triggered within us. So if you have experienced some form of betrayal and you feel it is affecting your life today, this video is for you. If there's somebody in your life who you know is affected by their past experiences of betrayal and they're showing up in some of the ways that I described today, and you are struggling having a relationship with that person, this video might be helpful for them, and you could send it to them to watch, and maybe they can start to connect the dots. Betrayal shows up in many different ways, and often it does stem from our past. Now, it could be childhood, it could be something in a friendship that occurred, it could be within a relationship, infidelity, it could just be the feelings of betrayal because your partner was consecutively not showing up for you in the ways that you needed. It could be with a friend that no longer speaks to you. Like, there are so many ways in which we could feel a sense of betrayal. But the most important thing to know is that it's very individualized, because when we feel that feeling of betrayal, there is a story connected to it. And the storyline that attaches to the betrayal is what gets built within inside of us. Gets built inside of us? Okay. Gets built inside of us. There is a feeling that gets built inside of us based on the story that we have created or connected that sense of betrayal to, that then impacts the way we show up as we move forward in life. So as I'm speaking, if you've gone through betrayal, you could start to think about the different ways that it has affected you and what that exact betrayal was. When I have clients come to me and they're speaking to me about betrayal, they usually say, Rin, I have these feelings of betrayal that are constantly showing up. They're affecting my relationship, they're affecting my marriage, they're affecting my friendships, they're affecting my workplace. I know logically that maybe I shouldn't be feeling betrayal, but I do feel this. Or they might not even know logically that they shouldn't be feeling betrayal. They'll come feeling betrayal, and we kind of dissect it, and I start to dig a little bit deeper and ask why they're feeling the way they're feeling, and then we have more that gets revealed to us. When we are feeling a sense of betrayal, like I mentioned, you're either going to feel smaller, or a part of you might pop up into attack mode where you're aggressive. The way you're building conversations with others is not the greatest way to build relationships, because you're always on defense mode trying to protect yourself. You don't open up easily. You don't trust easily. Therefore, it's challenging to build authentic relationships that you feel a sense of connection to. So today, what I want to dive into is that it's not actually the betrayal piece itself that you are trying to work on to show up differently. It is layered like most things. See, when we've gone through a sense of betrayal, we can't change the past. We can't change what has happened. But what we can change and rewrite is the story and the perception connected to our past that has now affected us today. This feeling of betrayal is layered. When we are feeling a sense of betrayal, what is followed by that betrayal is usually a feeling of rejection. We are feeling unseen, unheard, and not loved. And when we are feeling a sense of rejection, we often feel small inside. And when we feel small inside, we either go into that shell and we stay small and we remove ourselves from a situation. We start to break ourselves down and we stop showing the authentic version of us. We stay a little bit more secluded. We are on guard. We're afraid to show up in the world. Or when we're feeling that sense of rejection, we pipe up and we go into an aggressive attack mode. It's very challenging when that attack mode shows up because what's happening here is that we want to feel bigger. We don't want to stay feeling small. So when we go into attack mode, whoever it was that triggered that feeling of betrayal within us, or a situation or circumstance that triggered that feeling of betrayal within us, we pipe up and we attack. This often happens with the people that we love the most, even if that was not the intent to make you feel a sense of abandonment, to make you feel a sense of rejection. Usually it's never the intent. But this is also really challenging because it could show up in workplaces, with acquaintances, with friendships, with new friendships, because there is this defense mode. When we have gone through something as painful as betrayal, it's resting in the subconscious mind, and our mind is here to protect us. So when a memory gets triggered within us, or a feeling from the past pops up, it moves to the front of our mind. It's no longer resting in the back of our minds. Our brain is here to protect us. As soon as that trigger shows itself, the memory comes to the forefront and we go into that protective mode. So we are reacting to what is happening. So we are jumping and we are going into attack, or like I mentioned, we are secluding and going inside. Neither one of these is how we want to respond to the feelings of betrayal that have popped up within us. So as I mentioned, okay, let's look at this. There's the feeling of betrayal. There's the feeling of rejection that follows. And following that rejection is I am not seen, I am not heard, I am not loved, I am not accepted. And then the feeling of being small shows up. And we either go inside our shell or we pop up in attack. If we are popping up to attack, usually what follows that feeling is guilt and shame. We are not proud of how we've shown up. We wish we showed up differently. Why did I show up like this? And if you're not aware that this is connected to the myriad of stages within with that betrayal, you just don't feel great inside. Or maybe you've created a story within your mind where this person truly was betraying you, truly was causing you harm, and now you feel so right in the way that you showed up. And we know that showing up in a place of aggression is never a great way to establish healthy relationships where we can authentically show up in a safe space. So there's two things here. Are we in a state of awareness, or are we in a state of perception and belief based on a past experience that happened within our lives? All in which the brain does to try and protect us. On the opposing side, if you are getting small, you might silence your voice, which then affects our throat chakra. We are not speaking and we internalize and we stay small. And now it's hard to build healthy relationships from a space of trust and authenticity. This feeling of keeping small affects us. So depending on what scale you're on, if you're going into that attack mode to gain that power to feel better, it's affecting your relationships. If you are staying small, and that feeling of small kind of goes through both of these, right? The attack or going internally within ourselves, it doesn't really matter. What matters at the end of the day is, what does this feeling of being small mean about us? What does this feeling of rejection mean about us? What does this feeling of betrayal, what is the story connected to? So let's go back here. I want you to follow me. There's the feeling of betrayal triggered from our past. And then followed by that, there's the feeling of rejection. And followed by the feeling of rejection, we feel small. And then when we feel small, we show up in a way, whether that's going within or whether that is going into attack mode. And between each one of these, there is a storyline. If I'm being betrayed, I am not loved, I am not seen, and I am not heard. Therefore, I'm rejected. And if I'm rejected, I'm less than. And if I'm less than, then I feel small. And if I feel small, well, then I have to pipe up and be in attack mode so that people can see me and understand who I am and that I matter. Or I'm going within myself because I don't matter and I should just keep the peace and stay silent. In all of this, the feelings of not mattering are present, and that is directly connected to your self-worth, how you see yourself and how you value yourself. And you might say, Rin, I value myself. I see myself. I know who I am. I know I am worthy of love. I know that I matter. There is a very big difference when the logical mind knows that we are worthy and matter. My logical mind in the past has always connected to my worth and that I matter and that I belong. But it doesn't mean that my sense of self-worth within was matching up to what my mind was saying. Our logical mind could show up one way, and how we show up and how we feel internally can be different. We do want to marry the two at one point or another. And so if you are going down this rabbit hole of betrayal, I could promise you that that is deeply connected to your worth. Because if the betrayal is triggered from a circumstance or situation, and it's triggered to something that is reminding you of your past, sometimes that feeling that is triggered has nothing to do with betrayal. It might be like, hey, honey, I'm going to hang out with my friends. I'll be home later. And you feel betrayed because you weren't invited. Or your friend didn't invite you to an event and you feel betrayed. Maybe it was they thought, oh, that event isn't really for you. You probably won't like it, so they're not going to invite you. Maybe your partner just wanted to spend time with their friends alone and it had nothing to do with betrayal, but those feelings still were evoked within you and you went into the attack mode and you went down the rabbit hole that follows the betrayal. But what I do want you to know is just because we have a past of betrayal doesn't mean that we're always being triggered from a space that isn't real. Sometimes we still have not developed that safety within ourselves, and there are circumstances and situations where we are going through another level of betrayal and we still show up in the same way, whether that's shrinking or popping up from a place of aggression because of our past. Where we want you to get to is a space where we are actually working on our self-love, our self-worth, and knowing authentically who we are. Because whether a circumstance pops up that triggers past feelings of betrayal that don't match up to current reality, we still need to work on our self-worth to know it is okay that this is happening. I am worthy and I am loved, and this has nothing to do with me, and I can separate myself from that. I know my worth. And whether it is feelings of betrayal that have popped up again and you have a history and a past, and so it's affecting the way you're showing up, we don't want you to shrink yourself and go inside internally and become silent. And we don't want you to pop up in aggression because A, it's not good for the relationships and the dynamics that you're trying to build, nor is it good for the conversation that you're trying to have to assert yourself, but it's also not good to carry that anger and that power within yourself that affects you in a way that heightens you within your nervous system. We want it to come from a space of, I know my worth. And either you are removing yourself from the situation because you no longer want to have this person in your life, or you're able to articulate how you're feeling from a constructive place. Hey, I'm feeling like this because XYZ. I'd really like it if we can come to a middle ground so that we're both leaving feeling this way. I don't know if your intent was this, but this is what I'm feeling. Seeking out clarity from what you're going through versus keeping that story alive in your mind. So today's whole episode on betrayal is really for you to see that it's not about the betrayal that you actually have to heal. It's not about the rejection. What it comes down is to understanding and knowing your self-worth in a space that allows you to show up from an authentic place, assertive with boundaries, but respectful to everyone, yourself included, so that you can continue to build long-lasting, healthy, authentic, real, and raw relationships because you deserve it.